Words we have this morning from the second letter of St. Paul to Timothy, chapter 4, 16 to 18. While still going through court trial in the Roman courts by Roman authorities, St. Paul wrote a personal letter to his friend and son, Timothy, and told him that during his trial in the courts, precisely at his first defense, nobody was there to support him. Nobody was there to stand by him. He was all left to himself. Everyone deserted him. But we must ask, who were the people that abandoned Paul at that critical time? And why did they abandon him? Why did they forsake him at the time he needed them the most? And most importantly, how did St. Paul react to that feeling, to that experience? How did he handle it? First of all, the people that abandoned Paul at that critical time were his friends, his co-workers, and perhaps the members of the church, the members of the Christian community. To complain that these people abandoned him means that Paul had expected that they would be there for him to give him support, especially at the time he was going to trial in the courts. He had expected them to be there for him at that very critical time. Similarly, people have been abandoned, people have been deserted by friends, by family members, partners, or even business allies and associates. The people who abandoned Paul did so because they were afraid of the Roman authorities. After Paul had been arrested and imprisoned, his friends, colleagues, and members of the church, they all deserted him because they were afraid that if they had maintained their relationship with him as friends or co-workers or people who have known him, the same Roman authorities might come for them also, and perhaps they will suffer the same fate like Paul. So they left him, they abandoned him, they weren't there for him. Others abandoned him because the Roman authorities sort of induced them with some kind of bribe. And so they switched loyalty and testified against Paul, who used to be their friend. Paul mentioned one of them later in the letter. He wrote to Timothy and he named the person Alexander the Metacarper. Dear friends, there are people we expect that will always be there for us, especially at our very challenging moments. We call them, they don't answer. Perhaps they were busy, that's why they didn't show up. Perhaps they were afraid, just like these Christians and friends of Paul, we are afraid of the Roman authorities. Or they didn't want to get involved in your drama. Or just that out of bad will, out of malicious acts, they don't want to get involved. So they don't want to help you. And then you scrabble for help and no one is there. You know, in life, people walk into our own lives, and over time, they become part of our journey. Some of them come into our lives at our own invitation because we like them, we love them, so we invite them into our lives to become part of our lives. Some others come into our lives out of their own request or initiative. They like you, they would like to get associated with you, they want to be your friends, and so they come into your life. Regardless how they come in, the thing is that over time, we all gonna forge bonds, build relationships, friendship, or partnership. Some of these will remain permanently over thick and thin situations. Others will walk away from you over time, maybe because the circumstances have changed. Maybe, perhaps, the thing that initially attracted them to you are no longer there. So they walk away. Even when you are in a very challenging situation, they don't care because there's no longer connection. Some also walk away because that thing they once enjoyed about you, or admired about you, or loved about you, they have found it in someone else. Perhaps in a more fashionable way, and terms and conditions seem more favorable to them. So they switch over and commit to the next person because they feel that their interest will better serve with the other person. It is usually very sad, especially when you had invested trust, emotions, resources, and time building relationship, believing them to be your lifeline. Then when you are in that situation and you call for help, you shout, nobody is there to support you, just like Paul must have felt. Imagine Paul having so many people as part of his audience, talking to the members of the church. Many people come whenever he came around to preach, but when he needed them the most, nobody was there to stand by him. Nobody was there to support him. They all deserted him. As I said, it is a very sad situation, but it happens. So how did Paul handle that situation, that experience? Number one, Paul accepted the situation, their departure, in good faith. And that is why in the Bible, he said, although these people abandoned me, may it never be used against them. It didn't go about cursing them. It didn't go about saying awful things against them or about their person. It didn't go about damaging their reputation with stories and gossips. He didn't try to malign their persons. He wished them well. It is very difficult to do when you feel that people you depended on, you trusted, you hoped, abandoned you at a very critical time. This one thing about life is that when we are in a very tight situation and we are struggling and we are looking for help, the people we had expected to help us may not be there for whatever reason. Then the people we never imagined, or even, we don't even want them to be there, they are there to help us. There's usually this mixture of people. And it happens, therefore, that in life, we must learn to know which relationship to hold on to and which one to let go, especially those ones who want to walk away when we are in a very challenging situation. Secondly, also, although Paul felt the absence of his friends at that critical time, he felt indeed the presence of something bigger and something more important, the presence of God. And that is why in the letter he said, although these people abandoned me, God stood by me and strengthened me. He delivered me from evil deeds and brought me into safety, the presence of God. Sometimes life might become so dark that you don't see anybody. You scramble for people to hear your voice. You look out to see if someone is there to help you. Don't ever think that darkness also indicates the absence of God. May we never think that the presence of storm in our lives is actually the absence of God. One of the spiritual activities we must practice as Christians is to develop the idea, the conception, the awareness that God is always there, no matter how bad it is. To take the pleasure in believing that God is always with us. Indeed, the feeling of being rejected or being abandoned or deserted by friends, family members, or associates or partners can be characterized by anger, frustration, self-doubt, loneliness, sometimes also self-harm. When it happens, please, can we go back to learn from Paul? Number one, knowing that is life phenomenon. It happens. People come in and people go away. They must not always answer when you call. Wish them well. Don't hold it against them. And remember, when you think nobody was there or is there, there is a force. I'll use that word. There is a force bigger and stronger, whose presence you must never take for granted, the presence of God. So if you are feeling mad, or if you are mad at some friends who abandoned you sometime because they didn't come, they didn't show up when you needed them the most, and you are still mad at them, why not breathe in and out and let it go? They may have their reasons. It may not be enough to justify their actions. But are you going to keep mad for how long? Let's go back to Paul, who said, I wish it will not be used against them, because he understood people can be that way at times. And also, may we learn to be there for people who consider us as their lifeline. People who need our support. People want us at their defense. Just as Paul wished, anticipated, and expected the church to be there for him at that moment. I know some of you might be angry with the church because perhaps at certain times the church weren't there for you. I mean the members or the priests. Let it go. I just hope and pray that I, Nathaniel, I may not be a reason why somebody who once considered me or who considers me a great support will ever feel deserted in life. May I never be a reason why someone in this whole worldwide world of over 2 billion persons, because I didn't answer their call at that critical time, will ever feel rejected, dejected, or abandoned. However, if you feel abandoned, people didn't show up, God always shows up.